Hello, viewers. This is Vibhuti Jha, and this is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Just as always, please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. Press the bell icon so that our new and upcoming channel also progresses as much as it must. Now, today I am going to talk about a very important issue with a very important guest of mine who is coming on Jaipur Dialogue USA for the first time. Mr. Ramnik Singh Manji is very well known to Jaipur Dialogue audiences, but today he's coming on Jaipur Dialogue USA as well. He has been with conversation with Sanjay ji many times on varieties of national issues, and today we are going to talk about a very specific point. वो कहते हैं कि in a risk analyst, I'm a banker, so we do a lot of risk analysis. And in the risk analysis, we know that when the Prime Minister made the statement that we are marching towards becoming the third largest economy in the world by 2047, what can happen to derail that process? What can happen that the dream is shattered? And to that end, the role of the opposition today is very important. And today that role is in the hands of Rahul Gandhi, who is popularly known as leader of the opposition. If you look at that word, those three words, then it is LOO. But if you call it leader of the opposition party, then he is LOP. So I have used LOO today. And I'm trying to say to you that this something is a journalistic matter, not meant to create any slur or aspersion on his role or leadership. But Ramnik ji, welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA, and it's a great honor and privilege to not only have met you in Jaipur for two conferences, one after another, but today you are coming on the show for the first time. So, leader of the opposition, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you know what is happening. And my theme is always one thing that I always want to say to people. We know now a lot more than we knew before. Look at the latest fracas going on in Parliament on Mr. Ambedkar. And now the literature is coming out that what Nehru did about Ambedkar and what Congress party did to Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, and now they are claiming that is BJP is creating a hangama. So the question here is, what is your take on that role of the opposition leader, whether he will allow India to reach its potential, or he will be a perpetual obstacle, or he will not let Modi do whatever he wants?
Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, Jai Hind to all the audience of Jaipur Dialogues USA. I have been on Jaipur Dialogues, the way Vibhuti ji was mentioning, Sanjay Dikshit ji jisko host karte hain, that one. And Vibhuti ji, I think I am here for the first time, but not the last time on your show.
Yes.
That's for certain. And the pleasure was equally mine when I met you twice at the same venue, Jaipur. And probably we'll try and change the venue next time. We will meet at the Jaipur Dialogues for sure, but we'll also try and make sure that we meet in between sometimes.
Right.
Now, coming back to the question, well, like you said, and very aptly and correctly said that now we know a lot more than what we knew before. As a matter of fact, analysts like me or researchers like you would actually happen to know a lot more than what these politicians or these people would want us to know, or what general public at large would know. So there are things which we are privy to, and there would be a lot more which the people in the government or the establishment would know. So so far as Mr. Rahul, okay, the world calls him Gandhi, so I'll call him Gandhi. So, about Mr. Rahul Gandhi, how do I start, Vibhuti ji? If he's a youth icon, I am a toddler, and you're still in college. So that's my interpretation of things. So then again, we know a lot about Rahul Gandhi and how what Congress has done over the period of time. So, starting from the partition of India to the various ghotalas and scams that we've witnessed, you have to bring in perspective the 50 plus years of Congress rule vis-a-vis these 10 and a half, 11 years almost of Modi era. Because why do I factor in this more than I factor in the Vajpayee era is because those years were of coalition governments, and the past 10 years were a full majority government. So, how a nation can actually turn itself around and how you can establish yourself on the global platform is very clearly witnessed over the last 10 years. And if I remember correctly, there were people. It used to be a ordinary talk when we used to repeat a sentence saying इंडिया है कुछ नहीं हो सकता है अरे इंडिया में ऐसे ही होगा India is a hopeless. So we were very hopeless about our country and our about our future. And look at us now, from the 10th to the fourth largest economy, and soon to be the third largest. And when you said that you, being a banker, you have a risk analysis. So the moment Modi ji declared it that we would be the third largest economy in the world soon, as a matter of fact, the timeline is set for 2047, that is 100 years of India's independence, but we are on course to achieve that much earlier, much earlier, as a matter of fact. We can achieve it in probably next 12 years. So by 2037, we can aim to be the third largest economy in the world. But then again, there are going to be distractions, there are going to be pulls, and there are going to be powers which would be playing against India. So, like I have always mentioned, I keep repeating this, that the deep state and the Western powers would want to keep India in a jelly state. They would want India to be at their disposal, not a solid state like Russia or like China or like USA itself. So they would want to keep India. They would want to melt it to a point where it does not actually liquidify like Syria or Iraq, but they would not want us to be a solid state either. So, a progressive India, a pioneering India, a leader India in any field, much less to say economics or defense, is not favorable to the West, and they would want us to dance to their tunes, which India has explicitly shown that it has an independent foreign policy, and it has an independent mind, and it has its own interests and the interests of its citizens at the epicenter. So when we talk about what challenges India faces, well, apart from the external challenges, well, if I may illustrate a few, that we've seen a regime change in Pakistan, we've seen a regime change in Afghanistan, we've seen a regime change in Nepal, we've seen a regime change in Bangladesh. We've seen a regime change in Myanmar. We've seen a regime change in Sri Lanka. We've seen a regime change in Maldives. And we've seen Bhutan taking its own course when it comes to foreign affairs and their diplomacy, their foreign policy. So what's left in the Indian subcontinent? And who do you think is the next target? Who do you think is at the target of the deep state? It is us. And they almost got there when there was a verdict not completely in favor of the current dispensation. So 240. And why was the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi and everybody celebrating those 99 seats? It is because they saw it as a sort of a victory. And it was not just their victory, but it was the victory of their masters. And I've said this in an interview with Ajit Bharti on, if I remember correctly, it was 10th of March 2022 on his channel DO Politics, that the hands which are operating the Aam Aadmi Party and the hands which are operating the Congress Party, the puppets, So the threads are being controlled. जो धागे हैं वो the hands are the same person. And now 2 years hence we know who that person is. So that's exposed. So about that point 0.5 front that we were discussed, and which was brought out, well, it was always discussed in the close military circles and in the strategic circles, but it came out first in public when the former CDS, General Bipin Rawat, discussed the point 0.5 risk inside. So we are literally now looking at a 3.5 front where Bangladesh is actually is a bait for us to fall in the trap, and Bangladesh could well become our Afghanistan. So there are push and pulls, and when you say the LOO or the loop, he is very much a part of that deep state apparatus that wants to deny India its rightful position at the global platform. And if they have their way, if the loop or the LOO or the leader of the opposition, or Mr. Gandhi, as you would like to call him, if he has his way, he will not permit India to reach there, because look at his agenda, Vibhuti Ji. His agenda is to discuss the caste census in India. He wants to have a caste census in India, Vibhuti Ji, and also he made a glaring statement which has offended not just me but many across the world. He made a statement from the parliament of the house saying, Hindu hinsak hote hain. And he tried to cover it all up later, but the real mind comes out. So we will discuss about it as we go forward.
Thank you very much for a very, very significant opening statement that you made in this matter. And as I always say, thanks to technology, today we know a lot more than we knew before. And things come out. I remember on one of my assignments, on a consulting assignments, I was in a Middle East country, and the sheikh who was the head of that investment bank asked me, this is 10 years or so more ago, and he asked me, Mr. Jha, how do you think technology is going to impact us or affect us? And I said two things. You can't hide anymore and you can't lie anymore, because your tails will be out there.
True.
Links will be found out. And that's what is happening thanks to technology, that people are now knowing a lot more. Rahul Gandhi can't hide anymore for whatever he's doing. But Rahul is a tool. You said it very well. He's a toolkit, and masters are operating the thing. I remember when I was doing my master's program in Gokhale Institute in Pune, for example, I read an article in Far Eastern Economic Review, which is that magazine no longer exists anymore. It was a Hong Kong-based publication in which, when Indira Gandhi used to talk about foreign hand interfering in India, and that was a time when a very senior official was asked in Singapore, how deep are you in India? And I remember reading it myself, so I'm not telling you a Kimbadanti or a made-up story.
Yeah.
He said, India is a happy hunting ground for anyone. With its diversity, differences, language, and the way the government runs, it's a happy hunting ground for everybody. We are not there yet, but it's a happy hunting ground. True or false, whether they were there or not, I do not know. But what I do understand is that, yes, we are a happy hunting ground. That's the important part that people of India have to understand today. And your observation that India and Modi survived the very determined effort of 2024 election, otherwise regime change वहां भी हो जाता.
वहाँ भी हो जाता है.
सवाल ये है कि knowing what we know now, Rahul Gandhi के intent तो clear है. He wants to become Prime Minister of Wayanad if he can, or Rai Bareli for that matter. His lifelong ambition of being a Prime Minister will be solved. But what is the viciousness of this person? How do Indian people accept and tolerate this guy and his sister? Nothing personal about it, but as political leadership. who know nothing more than Nautanki in alongside Arvind Kejriwal. I mean, these three will contest the Oscar award for who is the bigger Nautanki. Your thoughts?
Sir, Kejriwal wins hands down. So far as I am concerned, if I was on the judging panel, I would have given Kejriwal the award straight away. Have you seen that cringe video of Kejriwal and what he's created with Ambedkar?
Yes, yes.
He wins. I mean,
Even yeah,
that's a clear win, 100%.
आपको ये जान के खुशी होगी कि 2014 में जब यहाँ पे डिबेट शुरू हुआ था प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी और अरविंद केजरीवाल, दैट वाज द डार्लिंग ऑफ द वोटर्स एट दैट टाइम, मैंने कहा था कि ये महान नौटंकी है। 2014 में मैंने उसको वो टाइटल दी थी। आई हैड सेड दैट केजरीवाल इज द बिगेस्ट नौटंकी इन द वर्ल्ड। कैरी ऑन सर, सॉरी।
Okay, so far as Rahul is concerned, I'd say this, sir, ke Rahul Gandhi नौटंकी तो चलो है ही है, but he's a very dangerous one.
Yes.
People used to call him Pappu and everything, no?
Right.
So I've always maintained this. मैं कहा ये बहुत खतरनाक आदमी है. Don't take him lightly.
Right.
His ambition, his desires, or his agenda is a very, very dangerous agenda. So this guy cannot be discounted as a pappu or as a buddhihin balak, because the brain which is working behind or the agendas which are working behind are much sinister. तो आपने कहा कि राहुल का एजेंडा, so I'll tell you a bit about his agenda. So when he calls Hindu हिंसक हैं, तो which Hindu is he calling a hinsak? If we discuss the four varnas, so is he calling the Brahmins hinsak? Is he calling the Kshatriyas hinsak? Is he calling the Shudras hinsak? Or is he calling the Vaishyas hinsak? If we talk about the castes particularly, तो ये ब्राह्मणों को कह रहा है, क्षत्रियों को कह रहा है, यादवों को कह रहा है, SC ST को कह रहा है, अंबेडकर वादियों को कह रहा है. Who is he referring to as hinsak? And again, sir, honestly, like you said, that why are we tolerating him? So tolerance is in our DNA, tolerance is in our dharma, tolerance is in our way of life. So we tolerated the British, we tolerated a lot many, we actually embraced a lot many. But this time I think tolerance should be given up. Or if you permit me to say this in Hindi on your channel, sir, कि काश हिंदू हिंसक होता, काश हिंदू हिंसक होता जिस वक्त गौ माता की चर्बी, सुअर की चर्बी, मछली का तेल मिला के वो प्रसाद के रूप में तिरुपति में बरताया गया. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता जिस वक्त अयोध्या का वर्डिक्ट प्रमाण होने के बावजूद सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाना पड़ा अपने हकों को लेने के लिए. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता उस समय, जिस समय एक 500 साल से अधिक के कालखंड के वक्त ज्ञान व्यापी में भगवान शिव को, शिवलिंग को फव्वारा बता के इन विधर्मियों ने अपने पैरों की मैल, अपने हाथों की मैल और अपने मुंह की कुल्ली से उनका अभिषेक किया. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता जिस वक्त मथुरा के मंदिर में उसके ऊपर एक और मस्जिद बना दी जाती है और गुलामी का प्रतीक दिखाने के लिए हर उस हिंदू मंदिर को, और मैं तो केवल काशी, मथुरा और अयोध्या की बात कर रहा हूं, ऐसे 40,000 के लगभग मंदिर हैं जिनके ऊपर मस्जिदें बनाई गई. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता अपने हकों के लिए, अपने धर्म के लिए सड़क के ऊपर उतर के आता. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता कि जिस तरीके से सड़क की लड़ाई हार के और टेबल के ऊपर बैठ के चर्चा करते हैं, काश सड़क की लड़ाई सड़क पे जीत के टेबल के ऊपर आने की आवश्यकता ही ना होती. काश हिंदू हिंसक होता. तो मैं राहुल गांधी को बता देना चाहता हूं कि अगर हिंदू हिंसक होता तो श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी, उसका स्वाद आपको भी आज तक मिल गया होता. और ये जो बार बार बात दोहराई जाती है, ये बात कही जाती है कांग्रेस की तरफ से कि साहब हमारी पार्टी शहीदों की पार्टी है, शहादत दी हमारी पार्टी ने, तो वो गलतियां आपकी थी. और मैं उसमें भी बता दूं कि हिंदू हिंसक उसके अंदर भी नहीं था. तो ये बातें जब आप सदन के पटल पे कहते हो जो अनंत काल के लिए भारत के डेमोक्रेटिक यानी कि लोकतांत्रिक इतिहास का एक हिस्सा बन जाती हैं, तो आपको एज लूप कह लीजिए या एज लू कह लीजिए या एज LOP कह लीजिए, यू हैव टू बी मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबल देन यू हैव बीन एवर इन योर लाइफ। और मैं ये विभूति जी चाहता हूं कि आप जरूर इस बात को दोहराएं और बार बार इस बात को दोहराएं कि काश वास्तव में ही हिंदू हिंसक होता तो इनको पता लगता, दे वुड हैव नोन what is the strength of 100 crore people in a country. So it is just that we are very tolerant as a society, as as people who believe in the tenets of democracy, and we believe in our judiciary, our legal justice system, and why the government has to see the day to day is because we are following the democracy and we are following the democratic values, and these values are unparalleled in anywhere in the world. We saw Trudeau bring in emergency when it was the truckers' protest. We've seen how rights were curbed for citizens in Canada. We've seen how uh, mainstream media, which is now termed as legacy media by Elon Musk, we've seen how terribly businesses are crushed in both China and Russia. We see how government interferes in public personal life. We've seen how the big brother in US spies on their own citizen. We've seen how the great game globally is on when uh, you know countries' maps and boundaries are being redrawn, and there is utter disregard for human life. So we stand as a 10, 15,000-year old civilization, living, thriving, and kicking. So that is the beauty of our democracy. If somebody tells that British gave us civilization, no, they gave us the language we speak and communicate in today, you and me. बट हम अपनी भाषा में भी बहुत अच्छे से एक दूसरे से संवाद कर सकते हैं और अपनी बातों को रख सकते हैं. इट्स अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल लैंग्वेज एंड आवर system, our culture, our civilization, or our cities were much developed and much ahead in time, much ahead of time. I mean, we had scientific researches and we had Ayurveda when these Gora Admis were roaming around in animal skin. So we are not taking this from them, and well, they can use their influence. I said it in one of my interviews some time back, and I said कि अगर आप बिकोगे, देखिए मोदी जी ने कहा कि आप एक रहेंगे तो सेफ रहेंगे, योगी जी ने कहा बटोगे तो कटोगे, एंड मैंने ये बोला कि अगर आप बिकोगे तो आप ब्लैकमेल होते रहोगे. If somebody buys you out, then you will have to dance to their tunes. And it is very appropriate for the Congress party. They are sold out. They've taken money from enemies of the country. I am sure the way they operate, you've just mentioned the brother and sister, I'd say the mother as well.
Yeah.
और हमारी संस्कृति में, हमारी सभ्यता में, in our society, we believe that ये संस्कार जो है ना वो माता से ही आते हैं. बच्चों में पिता से भी कम बल्कि माता से ज्यादा संस्कार आते हैं. So what you see in Rahul and Priyanka is a reflection of the upbringing that they have received from Sonia Gandhi. Whatever their compulsions, their anti-national stand and their anti-societal stand, and they're trying to tell people कि भारत जोड़ो न्याय यात्रा, this BJ yatra. So this BJ yatra can be interpreted in many ways, but Devendra Fadnavis has said that I have details of how these Break India gangs have collected together, and they're a part of the Congress ecosystem. And we've seen attempts after attempts after attempts, whether it was Shaheen Bagh, when they brought out a misnomer that your citizenship will be taken away. You will be categorized as D, as in doubtful citizens, and you will be taken into concentration camps. And I mean, this was brought out by Kapil Sibal. He's a seasoned advocate. He charges in crores for representing people in the court of law in Supreme Court. So he misinterpreting, and he giving a wrong narrative in the hands of people who want to break India. And then we saw the Kisan Andolan. We saw the Kisan Andolan too. And then we've seen with our own eyes people trying to suggest that in India, people will die in the millions during COVID-19.
Right.
And India emerged as Modi emerged as the vaccine man. And India emerged as the pharmacy of the world. It is only now that we're getting to know where all India has given or supplied vaccines. So India is by far a leader when it comes to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to tell the world, and not just tell the world, but explicitly show by way of action that we mean every word of it when we say the world is our family. So completely unrelated countries which we've never heard names of, they've been given vaccines by India. And when our Prime Minister visits those countries, the heads of the nation actually bow down to him, to his feet, in utter respect and regard. And Prime Minister Modi is the only Prime Minister of India who's received so many highest civilian awards, and a lot from the Muslim nations as well. So you trying to beat Modi, you trying to defeat Modi is one thing, but trying to be against the ethos of our society, of our culture, is another. And being anti-national is completely another. So what they are doing now is, they're not opposing Modi or BJP as an opposition party or as a political party. They have become anti-nationals. So that is where the problem is, Jha Sahab.
You said it very correctly, that they have the hate for Modi has made them hate India. Their actions have become against India. But one thing which Mr. Modi has done very correctly, you pointed out that जो एक समय में हम बिल्कुल झुक के रहते थे, एज एन अपॉलॉजी लेके रहते थे, करप्ट नेशन माने जाते थे, आज इंडिया का जो भाव है, जो हमारी जो इज्जत होती है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई है, which is very good. We have achieved our respectful
as Indians also, na?
Yes, Indian
As
की बात
Indians.
कर रहा हूँ. हमारे
आपको तो Jha Sahab, you would know better of how Indians overseas feel a sense of pride in their nation or in their nationhood or in their nationality. They may have taken American citizenship, British citizenship, or Canadian citizenship, or any other citizenship for that matter. But when it comes to their origin, country of their origin, it instills a sense of pride to have a leader like Modi. As a matter of fact, to be honest, I converse, I speak with a lot of Pakistanis, and they envy us as Indians. Envy us not because we are progressive, envy us because we have a leader like Modi and they don't.
Right.
So this is
क्योंकि आपने
literally
पाकिस्तान की बात कर दी,
neighbors envy and owners pride.
या ओनिडा टीवी का ऐड हुआ करता था ये किसी
ओनिडा
का. तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता था, आपने पाकिस्तान की चर्चा कर दी. कल हमारी किसी से बात हो रही थी, हम ये सोच रहे थे कि भाई Middle East countries are so receptive to Modi and the country. Why is Pakistan and Bangladesh so hateful towards, so ungrateful towards India? These two categories of people are ungrateful people to India, because India has done you no harm, but you want to harm India. Bangladesh का एग्जाम्पल क्लियर है. पाकिस्तान को तो पाकिस्तान का एक्सपेरिमेंट फेल हो गया, बांग्लादेश का है. लेकिन इसके पहले एक और बात पे आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही भाषा के बारे में. तो जो जैसे कि शशि थरूर कहते रहते हैं ना कि अंग्रेजों ने हमें इंग्लिश दी, तो ये बात हमारे सर्कल में हुई थी कि देयर वाज अ टाइम व्हेन इंडिया वाज द गोल्डन बर्ड. वो सिर्फ वो नाम के वास्ते नहीं था. We were indeed a very prosperous economy with 26 to 30% of the global trade and whatever else, right? We did that without English, without Mughlai kebabs, and without everything else, but everything desi jo bhi raha hoga. Why can't we go back to the same thing? Why can't we become have proud in our own existence that it is actually neighbor's envy? इन दोनों बातों पे आपसे बात करूं.
दो तीन चीजें बड़ी साफ हैं जी. नंबर वन, we were not a democracy back then, literally. Quite
That's a good
literally.
one. I like that. I like that.
And we don't have to go elections every 5 years.
Right.
So your foreign policy, your trade policy, your defense policy, and everything else
Right.
will not be directed by some gora army sitting somewhere and saying कि साहब आप हमारे से ऐसा relation रखिए, आप हमारे से वैसा relation रखिए. And well, I'll just come to that in a bit. But I believe that India was about 37% of the global GDP.
Yeah.
And when the British left, we were 0.2% of the global GDP. So the kind of loot British have done upon us and given us their language in return is hardly a trade. It's hardly a trade. And well, again, when I say we're not a democracy, we were not a democracy then. And now we are a democracy, and we are an open society, and we are the world's largest democracy. As a matter of fact, a lot of problems that we have is because our democracy has been read and studied and understood very well by our enemies. And they actually make use, or they use our democracy or our democratic values or democratic freedom or rights and privileges against us through their pawns, like the loop or the LOO that you are referring to. So look at China, sir. China will not permit a YouTube or a Google or a WhatsApp. They'll have WeChat, and they have their own servers, and they are a closed society so far as China is concerned. Who goes out of China to study is something that they control. So it's a different world. So India is probably one of the few examples in the world which is a very very free society, to be honest, sir. मैं तो US का तो मुझे पता नहीं है, but in India you can't cuff anybody walking on the road. You can't a policeman cannot put his knee on your neck, and when you tell him that I can't breathe, he will not bother, and you die on the road. That will not happen in India. So policemen here are not permitted to cuff you straight away. So freedom, I believe, democracy, I believe, is very, very, very liberal in India. It's a very liberal democracy. Well, comparison में अब सोने की चिड़िया कैसे गुलाम हुई and how it all happened is a detailed subject. You want to dwell upon it, sir?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
So, there was a discussion during the Jaipur Dialogue Summit. We were on the round table, and that video is yet to come. And a very senior person said that we should try and take most from the US and grow financially, and then we can do other things. And I said, okay, sir, we were 37 to 40% of the global GDP. What happened? We were enslaved and brought down to 0.2%. So our financial growth will not guarantee anything. It will not guarantee that our country will not be broken into pieces. Afghanistan was a part of India, and if you look at the concept of Swarna Bhumi was Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Indonesia, all put together. And from here, Syria, Iran, Iraq, all of these countries were part of the Swarna Bhumi, Tibet included. So India was a very, very large land. Sone ki chidiya, though it became much later. It was
Right.
Swarna Bhumi, very, very vast.
Right.
So the cultural influence of India was very, very vast. I have actually researched and I had read accounts where Romans were complaining of paying in gold for the love of Indian Lenin, the women, the Roman women, their love for Indian Lenin, the kind of gold they had to pay for it. There were complaints and discussions in their chambers. Okay, we need to find an alternative for this because our women are too addicted to Indian linen. And then came the printed linen. It was even more expensive. And then dyed linens. They were even more expensive. So our trade was way high. Our technology was way high. And during that day, the kind of material we used to produce and we used to export, our spices were sought after globally. Why do you think the Silk Route went through India, or the territories were so controlled by us? Why do you think Britishers invaded us to begin with? I mean, who kicks a dead dog, sir? Why would you go to a country which has nothing to offer? No natural resource, no money, no exploits. Why would you go there ever? No, you
Right.
would never go there. So India became enslaved because we trusted people, and we have a problem of trusting people still as a society. But as a government which rules us, which governs us today, I think we've course corrected. We're not a rudderless ship anymore. We have good direction, and as a society, we put our faith into people because our culture, our religion teaches us to believe, to have faith, to trust. But it does not work all. It does not work out like that. बिकॉज जो हमारे सामने खड़े विधर्मी हैं या हमारे सामने खड़े दूसरे लोग हैं, it is all about deceit for them. We welcomed our killers with open arms, and we are still trusting, by and large, the people who actually have India's ill at their heart or in their mind. Or wo, can you believe we have them elected and we have such people as office
Yeah,
bearers of constitutional posts?
correct.
Why else would देखो साहब, one thing is very clear. ये हिंदुस्तान, भारत एक ऐसा किला है जिसके दरवाजे हमेशा अंदर से खुले हैं. We've always had traitors who've been paid and bought off to do the wrong things. And this is what has happened always, and this is happening still. And मैं ये समझता हूँ कि on a government level, I feel that we've taken good course corrections. We've had the best interests of India in mind. We're not being bullied by a gora आदमी कि आपने ये करना है, ये नहीं करना है. We're not taking dictations from anybody. So we're not being, as a matter of fact, आप believe करोगे sir, I read these ratings. So happiness index, India is behind Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Prosperity index, we are behind Pakistan. So they want us to believe all that. We don't take it anymore. What did Hindenburg try and do? It wanted to sabotage our growing economy. Our wealth creators, they're targeting our wealth creators. Why do you think Soros is speaking the same language which Rahul Gandhi is, or Rahul Gandhi is speaking the same language as Soros is? Why do you think Rahul Gandhi, Soros, and Hindenburg are targeting the same people? It is not about Adani. It is about the Indian economy. It is about how the Indian influence globally is growing and how they can't digest it. They can't stomach it. They're a country which was 75 years ago a slave to the West, which only 10 years, 15 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, used to take diktats. Do you know how big a deal it used to be when Secretary of State used to visit India?
Yeah.
Now the US NSA, Deputy NSA comes and goes like he's on a hopping flight.
Mm.
They're trying to craft something in South India on the language lines. The Deputy NSA, this guy, John Loo,
Don't do, yeah.
he keeps coming to India. He keeps coming to India over and over. And they've met they met Omar Abdullah right before the J&K elections. He met Stalin a few times. I mean, these people are very relentless. But I hope things might change after 20th of January. I hope they change, but I'm not too hopeful though, because we've seen a few members of the Trump administration, to few people, office elects of Trump administration, who raise our eyebrows and who raise question marks.
Look, I'll tell you one thing. I belong to Republican Party, and I'm very happy that Trump has won the election. We campaigned for him. It is a good sign. I've been a believer in the thing that uh, Trump would be far more amenable to India's point of view, because both Trump and Modi have two very important confluence points. Look, you and I may disagree on varieties of things, but we will agree on a couple of things which is good enough to be friends with, right? So इन दोनों के दो विचार जो हैं वो बिल्कुल एक दूसरे से तालमेल रखते हैं. एक है ट्रंप का मेक अमेरिका ग्रेट अगेन and Modi ji's Make in India program. Both are driven towards making each other's country the strongest possible. And they don't contradict, they actually collaborate. Because we are a developing country, growing country, we want American technology, and America wants Indian market, having China के साथ बुरा experience जो हो चुका है. That's one. Number two is the terrorism, particularly Islamic terrorism. इस पे दोनों फिर agreement में हैं दोनों. These two issues are the beginning point for Trump and Modi to collaborate. In between, बहुत सारी चीजें होती रहेंगी. That's a different matter. But आपने जो कहा कि there are elements in the Trump administration which don't look favorable towards India. Can you be more specific about that? Would you like to be?
There is this Assistant Attorney General, Mr. LOO. She is somebody I would raise my eyebrow to, and would try and imagine when she's the kind of person. I mean, I'm sure Trump has reasons to appoint her, and he being the president-elect, he can choose his team, all right. But Jha Saab, imagine she is somebody who's been advocating for Gurpatwant Pannu, and Gurpatwant Pannu is somebody who's been speaking ill of India. He wants to alienate a part of India, starting from the international border with Pakistan eastwards, not westwards. The Khalsa Raj, or the Khalsa map, the map of Maharaja Ranjit Singh makes no sense to him. So places like Nankana Sahib, Punjab Sahib, and Kartarpur Sahib can remain under Pakistani occupation for all he cares. He discusses alienating parts of Uttarakhand, parts of Delhi, Haryana, whole of Haryana, as a matter of fact, and parts of Rajasthan, parts of UP as Khalistan. So he is somebody who gets full support, complete support from this lady. Huh? And if she becomes, which she will probably, Assistant Attorney General, she would have the right and authority to have somebody like you in the United States arrested. And somebody like me, if I land in the United States, arrested on any count. That, Mr. Vibhuti Jha be arrested because he's creating a conflict between Hindus and Sikhs in the USA, or he is a potential threat to the peace and harmony in the society. I mean, she would have that right. She would have that power to do. So that, I believe, is something that Mr. Trump should look at. And since it is an internal matter of United States, India as a country cannot interfere, and it is his prerogative to pick his team, though. But that is something which would need a relook at. And knowing Mr. Trump, I would also happen to know that Mr. Trump is a relationship guy. See, he believes in building personal relations, and his business is all about how well you deal with him, or how well he wants to accommodate you or adjust with you, or how you have dealt with him when he was not in power. So he's basically a relationship guy. I think if there is a message, I don't think a message will ever come from India's side not to pick somebody like her up, or to drop her or not to drop her. It is eventually, I think, from the it would need the Senate's approval, sir, would it?
Yeah, it requires Senate approval. That position
It
requires
requires
Senate
very
approval.
careful. So, but that is probably one area would I would feel that can be relooked at, because or she has to mend her ways and not get into that jiggery poggery business, or she'll be dropped like a hot potato. I'm telling you, if she does anything haywire, there will most certainly be a communication coming from India, because we're
I'm
not going
I'm
to
glad
abandon our
I'm
citizens
glad
of.
I'm glad you very boldly made the mention of the name, because there is a concern. Because it is very important, which I always say, that somewhere along the line, the antisocial elements, the criminals and thugs, take advantage of the compassion of the society. And Mr. Pannu, by opening and threatening Indians and Hindus so very brazenly, it is a very tragic thing to happen. And you see what he has done in Canada, what Khalistanis have done in Canada, and you brought in a very important point, that they are only interested in the India part of locations, physical locations, and not considering the Pakistan part of Punjab, which has huge amount of
Yeah,
Sikh heritage there. So much so that
65%.
I remember when Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister, he told in Washington D.C. the Khalistani people, if you want Khalistan, go to Pakistan, go there instead of asking for in India. But that's a very important point about Madam, Harmeet Dhillon's candidacy for this reason. And I think you are right, totally right, that it is none of India's business as of now. But should she play a devious role, and I think don't Trump will not allow her to do that.
Yeah,
Trump's ambitions are bigger.
also
Yeah,
largely because, please hold your thought and continue from where you left. Also
yeah,
largely because if she were to get somebody like you arrested, she will have to get Gurupatwan Pannu arrested first,
that's
because
right.
he's made very, very inflammatory statements. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
please.
That's a very good point. No, my thought process was very simple. I want you to close the conversation about one thing. As you said very correctly in the opening, this is just the beginning of our conversation. We'll have many more, because
Indeed.
people need to know truthfully and honestly. We don't hold any words back. We don't mean any disrespect to anybody. But there is an information available. Look it up. I tell people all the time, जाके पढ़ो, देखो, समझो. अगर नहीं समझोगे तो बात नहीं कर पाओगे. So this
See,
is the important part. I know it. Congress Party, I was here in this country from 91 onwards. My job was to promote India-US businesses. And I have known on a day when the US government people and business people said, tell your country to take whatever is at least 10% of what is going to China. This was 12 to 15 years ago. Let
but
your
then, sir,
country
again,
take 10 to 12%. We would be the third largest economy by in end of this decade. Forget about another 15 years. This is what
um,
Congress Party has done. They always undermined. They never wanted India to grow as a powerful country. Your last
sir,
opening thought.
you could never discount the MOU between the CCP and the Congress Party.
Right.
What do you know of it? What do you know has been signed between the two of them? And what is the written understanding and what's the verbal understanding? Why would somebody like the Loop now, who was an ordinary MP back then, visit the Chinese embassy when India and China were at a standoff in Doklam? Why would he go there? And why would he want to hide it? It was that the Chinese embassy inadvertently published it that Mr. Gandhi was here. And then, his team and he had to accept. Otherwise, they were in a denial. Again, sir, where I started was we, as ordinary citizens, are privy to a lot. And not just because of internet or just because it is freely available. Because we have connections where we get to learn things, we get to know of things. Imagine the man who gets a briefing on a daily basis. Imagine the kind of information the prime minister or the home minister is privy to. Imagine.
Right.
And them tolerating these people still. I salute these people. I mean, they're still tolerating them. With the kind of things we know for sure, they come out in public domain, they're done. And the good thing about this is, मैं ना आपको बताता हूँ झा साहब, I'll say it in Hindi and then I'll say it in English.
No, you can go ahead in any language. Both are good. No problem.
हाँ, तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद राहुल गांधी का. कांग्रेस पार्टी आने वाले समय में कम से कम आपके और मेरे जीवन काल में अब कभी भारत की सत्ता पे आसीन नहीं हुई.
आपके
जिस
मुंह में घी
प्रकार के
शक्कर.
कृत्य
आपके
जिस
मुंह में घी
प्रकार के
शक्कर.
कृत्य इन्होंने किए हैं
राइट.
और जिस प्रकार की राजनीति का डिस्प्ले ये कर रहे हैं, ये कभी भी ये कांग्रेस पार्टी मेरे और आपके झा साहब जीवन काल में कभी भी भारत की सत्ता पे आसीन नहीं होएगी. So I'll say it in English. All thank you to Rahul Gandhi that the Congress Party, the Indian National Congress, will never ever come to power in our lifetimes. We would never see a Congress government in our lifetime. That is 100% sure.
I agree with you, because this was a view in a very important group of people, that this 2024 election, with the help of foreign elements, they tried their best to upend Mr. Modi, and it failed.
It failed.
Now Rahul is done. Congress party
Correct.
has met its end. This is it. No more. Because nobody will look at it.
EOL, they say. EOL, end of life.
End of life.
It's end of life.
It's end of life for them.
See, I'll tell you, there were people who were abusing Hindus, of Ayodhya more specifically. It was not because of, it was because of the choice of the candidate. Had Lallu Singh not been given the ticket, it would have been a different story in Ayodhya, in Faizabad. Well, that apart, I would tell you that Modi ji is the Prime Minister of India despite the deep state's best effort, despite the Muslim Brotherhood's best effort, despite the best effort of the Chinese, the Turkish, and the Pakistani secret services, despite the best effort of a very, very large section of anti-India mindset people within India, despite all of that, the Congress party could not reach the figure of 100. And despite all of that, 3 elections put together, 2014, 2019, 2024, all 3 elections put together, Congress party could not match the number of seats BJP won in 2024 alone. So it is all thanks to the Hindus, all thanks to the people who worked tirelessly, they put in their effort, and the indomitable spirit of the Karyakarta on ground, if I may, who actually made sure that this government comes back to power. And what a comeback it has been in Haryana and in Maharashtra thereafter.
Right.
What a comeback. And you know, I was there in the Republic studios on the result day, and I was answering to Arnab Goswami to a question that he asked me, and I said, never forget Gujarat. Never forget Gujarat, because the Congress party came very, very close to the BJP's numbers in one election. They came very close. But the next elections, they were wiped out.
Yes.
So this was a wake-up call, not just for the BJP or its cadre, but also for all nationalistic people like you and me, to wake up and smell the coffee and to actually see that we have to seize the moment when it's election time. And like I said, Vibhuti ji, मैं दोबारा बोलूंगा, I'll say it again. Demography is equal to democracy. This democracy will only survive till such time this demography is intact. The moment this demography changes, and I hope you've read about what Obama has written in his book,
Yes.
latest book. So
But
he's mentioned.
For the benefit of viewers, please do say that.
So he's mentioned, had the Congress party remained in power for another 10 years, the demography of India would have changed and it would have probably become a Muslim majority country by 2047. So that's what he said, quite literally. Quite literally. So it is a dangerous game which has been going on for all these years. And ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि this actually stopped and it changed. Otherwise, we would have bragged about it, Vibhuti ji, that we have survived invaders for 1,000 years. We were never a democracy for 1,000 years. So it was a sangharsh, it was a contest. Now it is a fight. This democracy has been a boon in many ways, but this one way, this can be our bane as well. So
Yes,
this has to be dealt with correctly and
very
checked
true,
in time.
very true. आपसे आखिरी सवाल ये पूछूंगा मैं, जो कि मैं हमेशा लोगों से पूछता हूँ, अपने मन में इस बात को भी दोहराता रहता हूँ कि आज की तारीख में इतना सारा जानने के बाद वो कौन सा हिंदू है जो अभी भी राहुल गांधी के तलवे चाटता है और उस फैमिली लिमिटेड पार्टनरशिप के तलवे चाटता है। आज की तारीख में हमें सबको पता है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने सिखों का नरसंहार किया 1984 में, राइट? इट वाज नॉट हिंदूज, इट वाज कांग्रेस पार्टी डिड दैट। आज वो कौन सा सिख है जो अभी भी कांग्रेस पार्टी को सपोर्ट करता है? इस पे कुछ आपके विचार सुनना चाहूंगा मैं।
साहब देखो क्या है कि झुका हुआ सरदार और गिरा हुआ किरदार किसी काम का नहीं होता। पहली बात तो ये समझिए आप। और आप वो पूछ रहे हैं वो कौन सा हिंदू है कौन सा सिख है, तो मैंने आपको बताया सिख के बारे में जवाब दिया कि झुका हुआ सरदार और गिरा हुआ किरदार किसी काम का नहीं होता। तो दूसरा पार्ट जो है दैट इज फॉर दी हिंदूज। जिसका किरदार गिरा हुआ है वो किसी काम का नहीं है। सो लोग हैं जिनके वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट्स हैं, देयर आर पीपल हु हैव वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट्स। लोग हैं जिनके लिए उनका स्वयं उनका अहम देश से बढ़कर है। मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूं विभूति जी, और आप इस बात को लिख लो और मान लो, और कम से कम मेरी तरफ से तो आप इसको एक ब्रूटल सच्चाई मान के चलो। When it comes to national security, you have to be very brutal. You have to be very intolerant. Because राष्ट्र है तो हम हैं, हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियां हैं। जो ये जो घर है, ये जो आंगन है, ये जो सब हम बसा के बैठे हुए हैं, ये तब तक सुरक्षित है जब तक राष्ट्र सुरक्षित है। और अपने लिए नहीं, अपने बच्चों के लिए, अपनी आने वाली नस्लों के लिए, उन लोगों के लिए जिन्होंने आंखों में एक ख्वाब संजोया था, जो एक भारत की आजादी के लिए, एक भारत की स्वाधीनता और स्वतंत्रता के लिए जिन्होंने अपने प्राणों की आहुति दी, जिन लोगों ने अपने प्राण अर्पित कर दिए देश के लिए, उन्होंने कभी चाहा नहीं था कि यह खंडित भारत, 3 टुकड़ों में बटा हुआ भारत आजाद हो। यह किसी ने सोचा था कि पेशावर और रंगून जो है वो हमारा हिस्सा नहीं होगा? किसी ने सोचा था क्या कि ढाका और कराची भारत का हिस्सा नहीं होंगे? Nobody had this imagination in their minds. तो इस खंडित भारत के लिए तो ना उन लोगों ने कुर्बानी दी थी, ना कभी हमारा ये भारत दोबारा टूटे ऐसा कोई कृत्य, ऐसे किसी काम में या किसी ऐसे षड्यंत्र में हमारे को खेलना चाहिए, ना उसके हिस्सा हमको बनना चाहिए। जो भी कुछ हो, आज की तारीख में, टुडे वी हैव टू सीज द मोमेंट टुडे, क्योंकि जो कल चला गया वो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है। आने वाला कल हम कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते, हम आज को कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। एंड टुडे we will make sure that we support only those who are in favor of this nation, the unity, progress of this nation, of this country, who have the best interests of citizens of this country, who form citizen-centric policies for our citizens. Every Bharatiya is at the core of their thought process, not their family, unka beta, unki beti, unka rishtedar. I don't care for such politicians. तो विभूति जी, अंत में मैं यही कहूंगा कि जिन लोगों के अंदर आत्मसम्मान है, स्वाभिमान है, जिन लोगों का जमीर जिंदा है, जाग रहा है, केवल वो लोग जो हैं वो भारत के बारे में सोचेंगे, भारत के विषय में सोचेंगे। बाकी अपने अपने बारे में सोचने वाली तो दुनिया बैठी है साहब। दैट इज ऑल आई विल से भूपति जी। मैं एक्चुअली आई गेट टू इमोशनल व्हेन इट कम्स टू इंडिया। मैं भारत को लेके बहुत ज्यादा भावुक हो जाता हूँ। तो मैं
नहीं
कई बार ना आई गेट ड्रिफ्टेड ऑल्सो। मैं कई बार बह जाता हूँ भावनाओं में।
नहीं,
तो मेरा
आप
है
बिल्कुल,
किरदार ऐसा कि मैं भारत के प्रति बहुत ज्यादा अपने देश को लेके आई एम वेरी वेरी इमोशनल अबाउट माई कंट्री।
I hope there are many more people like you who are listening to you today, or they will listen to you tomorrow, and who will know about you, to understand that emotion comes for mother, and Bharat is a mata for all of us, and that's
इट्स अ
what it,
लिविंग बीइंग।
it's a living part of it. So
हाँ,
yeah, so
ये
this
ना
is
लोग
very,
मजाक उड़ाते हैं तुम्हारी बात। इट इज, ये धरती है, मेरी धरती है भाई। इट इज फॉर मी, इट इज अ लिविंग बीइंग।
absolutely.
मैं इसको प्रणाम करता हूँ, इसका सम्मान करता हूँ। इसी से तो सब कुछ मिला, इसी की गोद में पैदा हुए, यहीं से अन्न खाया, यहीं से कमाया, यहीं पे जिए, यहीं पे सांस लिया। दिस इज माई मदर, दिस इज माई मदर लैंड। मैं आई अगेन विपुल जी, आई एम सॉरी, मैं आई एम इन अ डिफरेंट जोन राइट नाउ। मैं बड़ा भावुक हो जाता हूँ।
No, no,
तो
that's why मैं तो यही कह रहा हूँ कि I hope people are inspired to get inspired by you for your emotion and your devotion. That is what is important. So thank you very much for joining today and sharing your thoughts. And I'm so honored and delighted that you joined today. And we will have more conversation on issues that are important for us. As I always say, there are so many things to fix. So many things to fix, as I say. So as I always end my show, sir, ladies and gentlemen, with the call to Satyameva Jayate. देखिए, आपको इस बात की चर्चा कर दूं, विवेक रामास्वामी का भी इलेक्शन का कैंपेन ट्रुथ के ऊपर चला था। डोनाल्ड ट्रंप का जो सोशल मीडिया का जो नाम है वो भी ट्रुथ
ट्रुथ।
सोशल है। और हमारे धर्म का बड़ा आह्वान है सत्यमेव जयते। इट इज नॉट एन एक्सीडेंट, इट्स नॉट अ कोइंसिडेंस, इट्स ए थॉट आउट स्ट्रैटेजी। ट्रुथ मस्ट प्रिवेल, और उसके लिए आपको खड़ा होना पड़ेगा। जिस तरह
यस,
से ट्रंप और विवेक खड़े हुए हैं, आपको भी सत्य के लिए खड़ा होना पड़ेगा। विद दीज वर्ड्स, thank you very much for joining today. Talk to you soon again. Namaskar, Ramnik ji.
सत श्री अकाल, नमस्ते, जय हिंद सर।
Jai Hind.